For a test anyway.
All right, so we're on Facebook Live. Welcome to another episode of the, Wellness Wednesday. Dr. Shealy.
Good afternoon. Are you ready for me?
Yeah.
Not quite. You're just testing still.
Well, actually, I think we're going live. So live means we're on Facebook. So anyhow, yeah, it's interesting how technology works. Norm, let me ask you. Facebook, all this live events. Have you imagined that when you were a kid?
I don't like to imagine it as an adult. I consider Facebook the greatest drivel that was ever created in the world.
Oh, I certainly couldn't. I certainly agree with that 100%. So we are going to be talking about a very important topic today, biogenics, self-regulation, and why that is important. And with us, the founder of Biogenics, Dr. Norm Shealy, and we'll be introducing him again with, a lot more detail. And we still have a couple of minutes before the actual radio starts. Do you have any thoughts? Anything?
I always have thoughts. Depends on what they're about.
Okay. Well, how about a random thought?
Random thoughts, 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60.
Now, what's the pattern there? There's a pattern to everything. There's a pattern to behavior. There's a pattern to thoughts, to feelings, to how we behave, whether we exercise or not. There's a pattern to everything. And so if we become aware of our patterns and we watch them and we do something about them in an effective manner, then we can actually do something really good with our lives. And that's what we're going to be talking about. Changing patterns for the better. And how much time do we have until we go live?
Yeah, just a little over a minute.
A little over a minute.
Yep, so you're live on the
Okay. Well, speaking
deep subject, where are you going to dig it?
Okay, that's a good
That was
one.
my grandmother. That actually came from my grandmother.
ABC News is brought to you by Coyote's Mix-A Grill.
I think we've got everything squared away for this week. I think equipment-wise, everything's lined out, and we've got that all set up. So
I think this is going to work out okay. We got faith. Yeah, absolutely. Oh, okay. I see. We still got a little time. Okay. 15 seconds. Stay with us. We're about to begin.
Weather is brought to you by Affordable Towing of Springfield.
Make sure it's affordable.
Of radio station KICK, Vision Communications Incorporated, its management or advertisers. Vision Communications Incorporated is not responsible for the validity or accuracy of information presented on this program.
Wellness Wednesday with Dr. Norm Shealy and Dr. Sergey Sorin. Get the health answers you need from the creator of Holistic Medicine and the 2020 Holistic Doctor of the Year. To be a part of the show, call 417-447-1777. Wellness Wednesday. Now, here are your hosts, Dr. Norm Shealy and Dr. Sergey Sorin.
Now is your chance to listen and learn and ask.
And I'd like to start again this episode with an introduction of how we're going to be formatting this time so that we can serve our listeners best. We're going to talk about some very important topics. And for the first 20 minutes or so, we're going to be discussing a topic of biogenics, self-regulation, what it can do, why it's important, what is it made of, and how it works. And how self-regulation is the key to life. And then we're going to take calls, and the calls can be about anything or everything. And of course, your participation is highly welcome. We're also live on Facebook and I think YouTube. and hopefully we connect with a whole lot of people out there. Dr. Shealy.
Well, let's say that back in medical school, the worst course in the history of the world was psychiatry. On the final exam, they asked me, list 5 characteristics of a good psychiatrist. I wrote crazy as hell 5 times. The Politburo called me in. They threatened to funk me. I said, well, you blank, 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 would you like me in this course again next year, you bastards? They didn't dare funk me. I've never changed my mind. To me, 99% of psychiatrists are, well, crazier than any patient I've ever seen.
Certainly agree.
And psychology is not much better, in my opinion. But in 1972, I heard a lecture about autogenic training and the beginning, even pre-publication, of biofeedback. That intrigued me. And so I learned very quickly autogenic training, a self-regulation technique that was developed in 1912. When I learned about it, there were 2,600 scientific references. Not bad. And I started using it with my patients. Within a month, I was so impressed with the results that I began doing it myself. And I learned how easy it is to teach yourself to detach from those things that you really don't want to be bothered with, like politics or the weather or government.
Yes.
And in 1974, I went back to school, to Humanistic Psychology Institute, the first holistic, if you will, humanistic school to teach humanism. Now, humanism was developed in the 1950s, primarily by Abraham Maslow. But basically, it is designed to teach you self-control, self-regulation, how to be in charge of yourself, how to achieve, well, peace and detachment from those things you cannot change. So I spent 3 years and got a PhD in psychology. And out of that, I turned autogenic training into biogenics, the origin of life. Now, the basic autogenic training program is still wonderful. My arms and legs are heavy and warm. My heartbeat is calm and regular. My breathing is free and easy. My abdomen is warm. My forehead is cool. My mind is quiet and still. If you repeat those phrases, preferably about 18 times each, very slowly, you will be detached. And the more you do it, the longer you do it, the easier it becomes. After about 3 months, you can do it in 1 minute. And I've learned it in 1972, so that's what I've been doing ever since. But, of course, there are many other roads to learn this. My next favorite may be an essay on prayer that was written by Ambrose Worrell, one of the husband, Anna Healer himself, the husband of Olga Worrell, the greatest spiritual healer in the history of the world. I have 15,000 letters from patients who were healed sometimes by 1 minute of touch by Olga Worrell. When I first visited her in October of 1972, she touched one woman who had breast cancer coming through the skin. I saw it myself. Within 1 month, the cancer was gone. Now, spiritual healing works that way occasionally, but self-regulation works only if you do it. In Ambrose's wonderful article, Essay on Prayer, every thought is a prayer. Thinking sets in motion spiritual forces to bring about change in body, mind, emotions, hopes, despairs. So you can't afford to think negatively. The more you think, the more it programs your mind and your body to be negative. You don't want to create a problem, you want to avoid and solve problems. Now, we've made well over 60 different variations of this theme now. But the most important is to train yourself. Perhaps next most important is to be aware of those things about which you have a lot of negativity. It may be something that was real, it may be something you thought of, it doesn't matter, but you can't afford the luxury of repeating negativity. So you have to forgive and release into the hands of God every thought that is negative, every person or thing that has ever happened to you that is negative. Now, The important thing is you, not anybody else. Your purpose in life is to do something to help other people, but you can't do that if you're playing broken records in your mind. We even have one on consulting and contacting, if you will, your own personal angel. We all come with an angelic guide. It serves, if you allow it to, as your conscience. It reminds you and warns you not to do anything negative. All of these aspects are critically important. And of course, what's missing from conventional medicine is the spiritual. Freud, in my opinion, was one of the craziest kooks who ever lived in the history of the world. And most of psychiatry and a great deal of psychology is based upon his negativity. Well, I don't think I need to say any more about Freud. But humanistic psychology and our positive approach to releasing and abandoning and reforming negative thinking is the key to autogenic training. Now, if you don't like it, well, what's wrong with you? Are you going to go Freudian on me? Are you going to take a drug? Did you know that the number one cause of death is, well, drugs and unimportant misdiagnosis in conventional medicine? An article published in the July issue of JAMA in 2000 stated it was number 3 cause of death. But a book called Death by Medicine by Gary Null and a few others states that it's not 250,000, it's 750,000 deaths a year from conventional medicine. People are often signed out as dying of a disease, but actually they may have died of the complications of the treatment. It's like in this current fakademic, people are being signed out as dying of the virus, and yet the real cause may be chronic heart disease.
And I'll just take an over on that. And especially with the stressors of our lives, and they are terrible stressors, especially for those who are still watching the news or following any kind of, there's a lot of, everything out there is stressful, let's put it this way. But the key is, it's not so much what happens on the outside that affects you, it's how you perceive it. In other words, you can have two different people with completely different responses to the same exact situation. So it's not so much the event. Well, the event is a real entity, but you really determine what's the outcome of things in your life, and where you are going to be, how you're going to go, and how successful you are going to be in your relationships, in work, in productivity, in everything. Self-regulation literally is the key to self-success.
It is the key to life and health and longevity. In fact, there's something called telomeres, the tips of your DNA. And good health habits are essential, and it has been unequivocally demonstrated that people with good health habits have longer telomeres, and they do live longer. Now, unfortunately, the average American is missing 1 to 5 of the essential health habits. If you don't have those, your first bet is to begin to develop these habits. The number one actual physical cause of premature death now is a body mass index of 30 or above. Well over 30% of individuals, 36% of individuals have a body mass index 30 or above. But another 36% have a body mass index 24, and even that begins to shorten your life. By the time you get to a body mass index of 30, your life expectancy is the same as someone who smokes 3 packs of cigarettes a day.
And at some point, I want to focus the show on, especially on the habits, because that's the foundation. That's where the entire house is based on, so to speak. But that being said, when you have somebody who is misbehaving, so to speak, because habit is only useful if it's being followed. And what is the thing that allows one person, that makes one person be good, let's say, at exercise, and another person be terrible at exercise? Now the question is, what other underlying reasons behind the physical habits that we do. And I certainly want to emphasize that ultimately you can have all the great thoughts, but if you don't follow through, well, forget it. It's worth nothing. Absolutely. So everything that you want to happen has to be an action, and there's going to be a reaction thereafter. That's just the law of nature, to my understanding. And I've seen it in my own life too, whether it's action or inaction, as a matter of fact. And inaction is as much of a decision as anything else. But the concept, the idea is that I'd like to bring forth is we are all responsible for our lives. We're all responsible for the choices, for the options, and for what we do. And how do we become who we are? How do we do what we do? That's a question of what drives the physical. It's the mental and emotional. And how do you get to mental and emotional? And is that your master, or is that your or is that your servant? And that's the big question. And do you want it to be a master, or do you want it to be a servant?
Now, part of the problem, of course, is parenting. 40% of children are born out of wedlock. They were unwanted. They are born prematurely, and they, are going to have problems all of their lives.
Mm-hmm.
But even in the greatest of marriages, in the greatest of nurturing, if some other tragedy occurs, such as the divorce of parents or the death of a parent, then that can affect a child, especially by the age of 7 or even later sometimes. So no matter what happened, your responsibility to take care of you. Now, the second greatest habit is still really bad: smoking. 22% of adults still smoke. 1 pack a day shortens your life by, about 7 years. 2 packs, 12 years, and 3 packs, 18 or more years.
Oh, and by the way, just to jump in, don't lose patience with us. Around 4:20 p.m., in about a minute or so, we're going to round up this discussion, and we're going to take calls. So please give us a call about self-regulation, life, but anything whatsoever. So just to round up and finish up this topic, and please feel free to ask us about it. How do you regulate yourself? How do you become your best self? That's the question.
And we would suggest that is doing Biogenics every day of your life.
And the course is coming out soon, and that's highly exciting. So
we'd be delighted to take your calls about anything, because everything is related to your health. And now is the time to get that call in at 887-447-1777.
417. 417.
Oh, I picked it up over there. Yep. 417 people. Sorry.
Can we let's go the number again?
417-447-1777.
Okay, good. I think
Things
we're
are
good.
wonderful when they work.
Always. It's like parachutes. Yeah.
Now, the third habit is fruits and vegetables. The average American gets 2.2 servings a day. The basic essential requirement for any adult is 5, and that's minimum. You need 5 to 10 servings of fruits and vegetables. Now, if you're not going to eat them, get yourself ORAC, O-R-A-C, rich greens. 1 little scoop of 1 teaspoon will give you the equivalent of 6 servings, and you're on the air.
Hello, my name is. Hello.
Hi.
Hi.
Hi, I am calling about the 6-month trials of the telomere elonging experiment. Again, I talked with you about 3 weeks ago. You said that you said it was a major topic. We could talk for 10 hours or more.
Oh, easily, absolutely. And there's so much happening on the field. I mean, absolutely.
Yeah. The falsedemic has created more harm to every average person than anything we know in the last 100 years.
Wow.
I'll just put it very simply. We set out that study to determine if the product would help a telomeres grow, basically, or enhance life. And what we found, incidentally, was that the pandemic actually is killing people real fast.
Because before the pandemic, in 6 months, the average telomere grew 8%, which is fabulous.
I remember that.
But now The people with the active procedure lost an average of 1 or 2%, and the people who got the placebo lost telomeres by 8 to 10%. So this stupid, probably hardly even existing so-called virus, they don't have one, they say, so they can't identify. How can they call it a virus when they don't have one? And they faked the death rate by 90%, and that's enough to scare everybody. However, we can't all be perfect. We can detach and tell them to bury their heads in the sand, which I'd like to see it physically done.
Well, thanks. I appreciate your call.
Well, I'd like to ask a couple of questions about this, if I could.
Okay.
Are you planning on putting an article on your website like you did about the 3% gain
yes.
article?
Yeah, it'll probably be several weeks yet, because the blood tests take up to 2 weeks. And so we've drawn all the bloods now, but I'm still waiting for the final results so we can average it out.
Okay. Are you planning on making a kit available like you did with the first one?
Again, the patches will be available once we get it published or ready for publication even.
Okay. Will it be possible for me to talk with you about this further in any way?
About
to discuss further about the telomeres? Yes, absolutely. Actually, how about Norm? Is email a good way?
Yeah, just email me.
Well, you told me that last time, and last Sunday I sent you an email, and I got a formalized thing with no name or anything, simply listing 3 old articles and a dismissive explanation for why this one didn't turn out as well as expected.
Are you sure?
More.
I'm sorry. Yeah.
I called your office to explain the situation that you had told me to send you an email. And the woman said, well, that's the best you can ever expect. Just try calling on during the radio show because we're really, really busy all the time.
That must be misunderstanding. Our people are we don't tell that to customers. But if you had that experience, I'm sorry. I'm not sure what happened.
And but in your email, I'll be doing my best to answer the question.
Yeah.
I was okay. Well, I was general because I was trying to make sure that I would get an answer before we start listing questions.
Well, if you ask a general question like that, you're going to get a very general answer.
Well, I didn't get effectively any answer, nothing that addressed what I asked.
Actually, let's take this off the radio. I mean, I think this is, we do have other callers, but let's continue the conversation. Certainly, let's see how we can learn from each other and make things better. How's that?
I'll be happy to do that. Thank you very much.
You bet. You got it. All right. Yeah.
And now is your turn. 417-447-1777. Or we will keep talking about life in general and health in particular with Biogenics.
And I do want to say, when the concept of reframing, because here's the thing: in a world full of conflict, and I do want to say, and to me, to us, there's the only one purpose in life is very simple: to love and to be beneficial to the world, to be of service, and that's as simple as that. Everything that we do, everything that we aim for, has a singular track. And that's basically easy. So when it comes to conflict, and it's interesting, and I work with people in terms of handling various forms of conflict, you can actually address it head on, or you can actually take a different angle. And the perspective, the power to know yourself, the power to know the surrounding, to recognize the options and the capacity to choose. Now, do you see the tremendous value in being able to respond like that in any given situation? And that what is self-regulation. And again, I've been talking about self-regulation now for a long time, but I just want you to realize that it's not a far-fetched concept. It's a living, breathing, essential entity, and it's absolutely essential for any successful life in any aspect. And we have a course coming, so highly excited to bring it to you.
And let me give you one of my favorite examples. A 45-year-old woman had a malignant brain tumor. Oof. We taught her through temperature biofeedback to cut off the blood supply to that tumor. She is a total cure. I have 2 people who cured their brain tumors doing that. I also had a woman with advanced cancer, metastatic. The oncologist said she had only a month left to live. On the 17th day of working with her, retraining her with Biogenics, she suddenly got out of bed for the first time and walked, and 3 months later her cancer was gone, never to return. And those kinds of things happen if you take control, if you take charge.
Now, what about less severe examples? For example, not like cancer is it's an interesting one, but anxiety, depression, chronic illness.
Anxiety and depression is easily controlled with Biogenics, some dietary things, and often with the Shealy Sorin gamma PEMF device.
Yes.
That's my favorite. I've got, I think, 14 patents and 1 pending, and that is my favorite of them.
Yes, indeed. Absolutely.
You can often get rid of severe anxiety within an hour or 2.
And it's a very powerful tool. Now, we got a couple of minutes and before we close out for that half hour, and then we'll be back. Now, if any questions, what's that number again?
417-447-1777, and you get a free copy of Autogenic Focus, the basic program, by going to our website, realholistic.com. Get a free copy of it, download it. If you don't want to get the newsletter, you can unsubscribe immediately after downloading the Autogenic Training. But if you will do that for 3 months, it will begin the process of retraining your brain for perfect health and detachment from the majority of life which you cannot change.
And I think we're about to go to break, but we'll keep on talking actually. Yes, next, let's keep on the conversation. Norm, wisdom, otherwise on life. Let's talk about some other interesting applications of Biogenics. Say anxiety, depression, something like that. Not cancer exactly, but it's pretty common and pretty debilitating.
Well, depression, there again, the gamma PEMF is one device that works quickly. There's also the cranial electrical stimulator, which I discovered in 1975. It can help, but Biogenics can happen. And you do need certain supplements. You must have adequate B complex, at least 25 to 50 milligrams of B1, B2, B3, and B6. You must have some lithium orotate, it's a mineral over the counter. And for many people, you really need vitamin C as well, just because your immune system has been shot. No matter how depressed or anxious you are, that is a struggle for the immune system. So you need those supplements and possibly one of the electrical gadgets while doing also basic autogenic training. Now, for people who are more difficult, you may need to do it for 6 hours a day. That's an intense program, but we've got enough exercises to keep you busy that many hours a day, retraining your nervous system, your mind, and your body. I mean, I have seen blood pressures drop from 200 over 110 to perfectly normal 120 over 80 or below within 30 minutes or less.
Oh, absolutely. Oh, I see that all the time in the office. People come in with a so-called white coat syndrome, and then all of a sudden the white coat syndrome is no longer a syndrome. It's gone.
And that's because we don't wear white coats. But
Well, and I just want to introduce also the concept of holistic. What does holistic mean? Many people are either on one side of the fence or the other. In other words, the fence being conventional versus non-conventional. And conventional includes specialists, primary care, all kinds of things. There's acute type of medicine in each field, and there's chronic care. And then there's non-conventional with its, multiple Eastern, Western, and lots of different options on that. But the idea is the two have never come together in a very comprehensive way. And Dr. Shealy, and I'll ask him his opinion on this in just a sec, actually what the concept is to create a bridge between the conventional and between, well, everything. Put it all together.
Now, basically, the number one difference is the soul. We are, yes, living a temporary time as a physical being on the face of the earth. But when we leave this dimension, we still exist and continue, as far as we know, forever as an individual soul. So it is the transcendent part of us that is the real us.
Yes.
So every thought is a prayer. Thinking sets in motion spiritual forces. Your thinking is the thing you're trying to reform. Now, there are some other habits that need to be talked about, and that includes exercise. You must get some kind of physical exercise, even if it's just standing and waving your arms around. Remember, musical conductors live longer than any other profession. And so stay with us, and we will be back in a few minutes to continue discussing everything that we are talking about right now.
And is that a caller?
Just got another one on the line. So we've got about a minute before we come back in.
Okay.
Okay. So
Now, finally, sleep. You must sleep at least 7 or 8 hours every night, or you're going to shorten your life.
You'll kind of hear the radio going, and they'll hear me.
yeah, hopefully the reception is pretty good there. Yeah, so sleep is essential. Sleep is also, I agree, sleep is also where you get to recharge, regenerate the brain. And if you don't do that, that's not a fully functioning brain.
You're going to function as slightly drunk.
Mm-hmm. And living less than optimal is, that's not an optimal life. And we have a call coming in shortly.
cdc.gov/COVID-19. This message brought to you by the National Broadcasters, 92.3
Now, back to Wellness Wednesday with Dr. Norm Shealy and Dr. Sergey Sorin.
And good afternoon. You're on the air. Hello? Hung up. Well, try again. Good afternoon. You're on the air.
Okay, is this Dr. Shealy?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, I just have a quick question for you. About 3 years ago, when I went for an eye checkup, my doctor told me I had just the beginning of a cataract on my left eye. Well, I did your
Castor oil?
castor oil for about, I would say 3 months every night. And then it started to gradually, I do it when I think about it at least once or twice a week, and I've continued that. Well, I don't remember what the circumstance was, but anyway, I didn't see somebody in 19. So I went about a month ago to my doctor, and I have cataracts on both eyes that need surgery.
Well, you have to do it every night for 3 to 6 months to begin to dissolve early cataracts. Obviously, stopping isn't going to help.
And it's not going to help at this point.
Unfortunately, that can be. But the surgery can correct it remarkably well.
Well, I knew that, but I thought if there was an option other than that at this point, I'd take that.
I don't know an option after you've got advanced cataracts.
Okay, well, I have an appointment next week, so we'll see what Dr. Seagrave has to say.
Good on you.
Okay, thanks, Dr. Shealy.
Yes.
Actually, I'm going to jump in here if you just a little tail end of it. There is Dr. Sergey Sorin here, and one thing that I would strongly consider is an ozone type therapy, especially nasal. Ozone is an O3 oxygen times 3 molecule, and it's actually, as a healing technique, it can be very interesting for the entire system, including the eyes. Again, I'm not saying it will. I'm not saying it will necessarily have any given effect, but I've seen a few people improve.
Okay, I haven't had many symptoms, except I noticed about 6 months ago I had trouble parking my car straight.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That's about the only thing that I've noticed. Now, I walked away from my desk here. What were you recommending
ozone. Give us a call, and we'll explain more about what that is. It's let's see. At the clinic, yeah, 417-351-5221, and ask about nasal ozone.
And you do have that there?
Yes, we do.
Okay, well, I'll call you tomorrow.
Yes.
All right, thanks.
Okay, thanks
Yep.
for calling.
And
And now is your turn if you'd like to ask a question or make a comment. 417-447-1777. And of course, if you don't, we will continue talking about biogenics.
And I do have to say, when I encountered the system, now I joined you with the already, fairly well awareness of wellness, mind, body, spirit. I've had my own journey in wellness before we joined forces. But ever since I learned that system, I have to tell you, my mind has been blown away. I mean, the capacity and the wisdom and the depth is incredible. Yeah, do we have a caller?
Yes, good afternoon. You're on the air.
Hi, doctors.
Hello.
Yes, what's up?
Hi, this is Deneen. I was wondering, you were talking about the vitamin C, taking the vitamin C. I have a lot of, my issues are like stress, anxiety. So how many milligrams, how many milligrams and how much of vitamin C?
Let me take that question. Vitamin C. Now, if you're generally a general adult, you need, first of all, you need to have a good B complex before you do that, because it takes a B complex to complement the C, and something like Shealy Essentials, but at least 25 to 50 to 50 milligrams of most Bs, and then you've got your vitamin C, which basically is now, as an example of Shealy Youth Formula, which was designed with the purpose of increasing DHEA as well, which is one of the quintessential health hormones. It's an equivalent of 4 grams, but it's actually just 2 grams actual vitamin C.
But it has 1 gram of MSM, methylphenylmethane, which doubles the effectiveness.
But otherwise, you can have liposomal vitamin C, which is fairly tolerated, and that would be important. Plus, I would also advise you to look into vitamin D3, but in the appropriate amounts.
Okay. Well, I have some youth formula coming.
Wonderful.
And so how many of those should you take a day? I think you said like 4?
Yeah, 2 twice a day is ideal.
Okay.
But you must take adequate complex. Anytime you take more than 50 milligrams of vitamin C, you must have B1, B2, B3, and B6 with it.
Okay. So is that separate, or can you get that in a multivitamin or no?
No, you can't get 2 grams of vitamin C plus a gram of MSM plus a B complex in one pill.
Okay.
You got to have Dr. Shealy's Essentials and Dr. Shealy's Youth Formula to get the combo.
Okay. So I should order that from you, Dr. Sorin, right?
Yeah, it's the website is realholisticdoc.com. realholisticdoc.com.
Okay.
Well, spelling has never been a strong point, but it can become, obviously.
Okay.
Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah.
And
thank you very much. And I had an appointment with you last week, Dr. Sorin, and thank you for, all your wonderful words, and I'm just moving forward now with everything.
It is. Let me say thank you to you as well, because the only reason for me to exist is to be of service to others, and when that happens, my purpose is being satisfied. I'm doing what I'm meant to be doing. So thank you. And if it wasn't for you, I wouldn't be there. I appreciate you very much, and stay in touch.
Yes, I will. God bless you both. Thank you.
Thanks. Have a good one. And now is your turn. Good afternoon.
Wonderful. Do we have another caller, or are we?
Yes, I said good afternoon.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, hi, good afternoon, Dr. Shealy and Dr. Sorin. This is John Parker from Orlando.
John?
Hi, John. First call on the new station.
Oh, wonderful. It's thanks to Kick, to putting you guys on here. I'm so happy, and great information today. and about the biogenics and autogenics. Wonderful. First of all, I have a question, then I have something to share, a testimony. I have a molar in the back, very back, number 18, and it developed a cavity last year, and they filled it, but it came out. So I saw a new holistic doctor. He cleaned it out with ozone and a laser. But then over the past 2 months, it started hurting again. And so they took an x-ray this morning, and it looks like there's some kind of infection there that either I have to pull the tooth, get a root canal with ozone and laser, or pull it out and put an implant in with a biocompatible material. So I wanted to ask you about the health ramifications of that for the body of doing those things.
Well, I can tell you that I have 3 root canals, and I know there are people who claim but I've had my longest root canal goes back about 30 years, and I've never had a problem with any of them. So a properly done root canal, in my opinion, is okay. And it's better than an implant.
My perception is a little different. Now we all have different perceptions, but to me, root canals have. I've seen a few too many people that I'm comfortable seeing with root canal, issues, and it's also meridians actually from the teeth. It goes into the body organs. It's actually more complicated than that, but everything affects everything. That's holism. So to me, I personally don't have a very, very warm, fuzzy feeling for root canals as an option.
Yeah. When I was 12 years old, I broke my front tooth, and my tooth was so strong it broke the dentist drill bit. So they did an apicolectomy, and they put mercury right in the gum.
Oh my God!
That is poison.
So years later, and it was a big abscess, and I now have a Maryland bridge there. So I do know that it's one of those things. Like my wife hasn't had a problem either, but I've experienced it. But thank you so much for your advice on that. Appreciate that. But I wanted to share a testimony. The last time I called you, remember I told you I had the hernia operation with the painful,
right,
results from it. So I saw a specialist that I really originally wanted to go to, and that's one part of loving yourself is being led to the right people to help you. Some people hesitate to spend money, like seeing holistic doctors or whatever. But anyhow, he said that the surgery was old-fashioned, and he said, I didn't need such a big mesh. I'm such a skinny guy anyways that, but in any case, I was kind of depressed about it. But the good news is that I was prayed for, and I haven't had any pain in the past 2 weeks. So it just went away completely.
That is a great episode of spiritual healing. Yes. It does work.
And I have had it happen before. And I just, if I can just squeeze in a comment about the autogenics, I try to think about what I'm imagining, what's in my mind's eye. I'll even sing kids songs if I need to. But that's on some of your tapes, that's on CDs. You talk about that imagery, the power of imagery. And so I do that thinking good thoughts, because I feel differently in my body when I do that.
Oh, exactly.
Absolutely. That's the basic concept.
Every thought is a prayer, and prayers do come true. No question about it.
That's right. So, and thank you so much. Okay.
Thanks,
and blessings to all. Thank you. Bye.
Thank you.
Have a good one. And now is your turn. 417-447-1777. Good afternoon. You're on the air.
Dr. Norman Shealy and Dr. Sergey Sorin.
Big Bob.
Beautiful day in the Ozarks. How are you?
Great. What's up?
Well, 2 quick things. I don't know that you know this or not, but I've been working with veterans for about 25 years in Springfield and Branson, besides being, in the entertainment field. And what naturally, got 2 quick questions. One of them, how best can we help these veterans suffering so terribly bad with PTSD ending in at least 20 of them a day across America taking their lives? That's the first question.
The only answer to that is the cranial PEMF device. It can bring about that quick a restitution, if you will.
Now, I would just add to Dr. Shealy's comment. PEMF is an amazing device, and that's the first thing I think of. But in terms of retraining, resetting, and creating a new, better patterns before something bad happens is Biogenics. So it's actually right in line with the topic of this whole show, self-regulation, and how we can get people to a better place. And these are good people. They've put their lives on the line, and they deserve to be treated better than that, than what they're going through. I was a medical director at the VA in New York. I lasted about a year because I just couldn't keep silent about certain things that were going on. I can't disclose certain things. Again, I just made a little bit of a mess there on the exit. But it was worth it. It was 100% worth it because it was the right thing to do. And I'll tell you, the system is not working. PTSD, but with now military especially, but even non-military, and there's a lot of that going around. Think basics, and we talked about lifestyle. We'll devote a whole show to it at some point. That's the foundation, but then self-regulation. And if you can self-regulate in any given circumstance, even something as bad as what may have happened again to cause PTSD, again, that event becomes less and less meaningful, and then it becomes non-issue. And that we've seen a number of successes with that. Very powerful technique. Another great application of this. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Second question, make her quick. And some of us old boomers, we don't move as fast as what we used to. And what naturally, naturopathically, food-wise, or whatever, can we do to speed our metabolism up to where, we have that inner warmth where our body is metabolizing the way people did 100 years ago? And I'll get off and listen. God bless you both. We appreciate you.
Well, there are only two ways that I know to do that. One of those is to take a little bit of iodine, 1 iodoral a week, and stimulate the ring of fire with Fire Bliss. Those two things have about a 60% success rate in restoring thyroid function if it hasn't been surgically removed. And, of course, now we've got time for another call. If you have one, 417-447-1777, or we continue on Biogenics.
And I do want to jump in.
But we also need to talk about a couple of other things.
Oh, yes.
Spring Valley, the health food store of the greater Ozarks. It's where I shop, and you should too. Right there on South Glenstone, just up from Sunshine, next to FedEx office. I've been in other health food stores, but you get service at Spring Valley. That's the one thing that's missing at the bigger store. I walk in there and I feel lost. But at Spring Valley, they come out to help you. They've got thousands of items, and they are absolutely superb. Good afternoon. You're on the air. Hello?
Hi, Norm. Hi.
Hi, Helene.
Sergey, this is Helene from Reno, Nevada.
Helene, hi.
Norm, recently you've been saying it's not the cortisol hormone that's responsible for stress. There was something else I can't remember. Could you talk about that a little bit?
Adrenomedyline, Adrenomedulin. It is a hormone that is rarely checked in conventional medicine, but it has been demonstrated to be much more serious than cortisone. But it is remarkably reduced with our scalar device, our Sapphire Enhanced Scalar device. If you sit in that with it aimed towards you up to 10 or 20 feet away, but level with your body, it reduces the adrenomedulin easily by 50% or more. And if you do it every day, it's going to keep getting it down.
So is this in addition to the cortisol hormone, or it's been wrong?
No, it's in addition to the cortisone.
In addition, the trouble is cortisol is a lot easier to measure.
And cheaper.
And cheaper. And I mean, you would literally be paying hundreds of dollars for a single test. I mean, that's just not reasonable for most people, you know? That's, the cortisol is a huge part of the cycle, stress cycle. So is DHEA, dehydroepiandrogenase, and so are many others. But this is an interesting one, and that's what led to the research study, and then the formation of the scalar, which is, we haven't talked about scalar as a product, have we?
No.
Do you want to mention a few things?
Well, its major benefit is reducing free radicals. I think it calms people down, it helps detach, but we don't have studies other than adrenomedyline and free radicals.
Well, the effects that people have experienced are a lot more than that, but you're right. As far as the studies, we can only make claims and statements based on what the science shows. And that's good and bad, because again, when we practice medicine, the concept of holistic medicine is to practice with integrity, do no harm, and then do what works. And that is actually, that's not everywhere, is it?
Thank you very much.
Thanks, Aline. Have a good one.
Thank you, and wonderful to have you.
And of course, in this time, it is the time, if you're ever going to consider acupuncture, and you want to do it for general health, you want to go to Wellness Concepts Clinic with Dr. Jill, the only acupuncturist I truly enjoy, suggesting to you. She is great. 1200 East Woodhurst Drive, Suite R300, 877-1300, wellnessconceptsclinic.com. Ask her if she has the treatment for nonviolent madness. I'll probably, that's what I learned from Felix Mann. It's one of my favorite concepts, nonviolent madness. I don't know about today's world because we have violent madness.
Well, yeah, madness has evolved. That's
okay. Back a couple of minutes yet to talk about biogenics more.
Yes. Actually, I wanted to mention briefly because you about how to increase metabolism. I've come across a very beautiful, interesting, amazing theory, whereas it just might prove itself very valuable. So I'm doing this myself personally and a few volunteers, so to speak. But it's a program on weight loss, and I'm seeing so far a concept of breaking through plateaus, but it's a very different concept about the carbon metabolism. But I don't think we have time to finish this discussion. It'll be a topic for another conversation.
But remember, actually, water bliss and fire bliss done daily leads to an average weight loss of 1/2 pound to 1 pound a week.
And that's exactly why I last started looking into that, because there's probably a mechanism right behind that. And that's carbon metabolism. But that's a topic, like I said, for a whole new show on weight loss. And that's going to be a good one, I think. Well,
the important thing is thinking. And no matter what is going on, if your thinking is negative, look out. You're damaging yourself. 1 minute of negative thinking might cause 12 hours of this.
Now, let's talk about some of the ways that Biogenics will benefit people. In other words, who is it for?
Everybody.
Okay.
I think it should be taught in kindergarten.
Hmm.
My belief is we started children early enough, we'd have far less illness in the world.
And now, in your 50-plus year experience, together we've had quite a few years. What are the most common benefits that people have experienced or stated? In other words, what have people said that have happened with Biogenics?
Well, I think
self-regulation.
It reduces the feeling of being stressed.
Okay.
Which reduces anxiety, reduces depression, and reduces pain.
Hmm.
A lot of pain is from muscle spasm, because when you are stressed, you tighten up.
Now, what about the chronic stress and 85% or 85 to 90% of the connection to chronic disease, including all the chronic medical illnesses, blood pressure, diabetes, cholesterol, everything.
It's all stress. Stress is physical, physical damage and muscle tension. It is chemical, all kinds of chemicals that we don't have time to talk about. It is emotional. And of course, it is spiritual, because it is feeling that you don't have connection with your God or soul. It's a lack of connection with the divine.
And what I like about the system is that you can start with a physical biofeedback, but then go to mental, emotional, and you also have to work with a spiritual. In other words, who am I? Now, we're not going to tell you who you are, but you know the answer. And once you know who you are, you've got true power,
Yes,
especially if you follow through on that.
I have a body, but I'm more than my body.
And I am more than my body.
I have a mind, and I'm more than my mind. I have emotions, and I'm more than my emotions. I am a center of consciousness, and that is the soul itself.
And that is where the freedom of choice is. That is where the true power is. And that is what the Biogenics training and self-regulation can do. Now, you can do self-regulation in many ways, but, well, this is a really good system.
The best way is to get a Biogenics exercise. You can get up to 60 of them on our website, realholisticdoc.com.
But for the best results, there is a course coming out, and you can do it at your convenience, your life, your pace, and you can still achieve the same results. And we are available. So watch out for the course. It'll be coming in, hopefully a couple of weeks to a month, preferably sooner. And we are excited to get it out there.
And every thought is a prayer. See you next week.
Norm, a few final closing thoughts as we are for Facebook Live. Any messages out there for friends, our wellness family, anything else? Any parting words of wisdom?
Keep the faith, baby.
All right. And I'll say the same. Keep the faith. And we'll see you next week, Wellness Wednesday.